Hello everyone, this is Gayle. I'm back with a Christmassy type thing. I'm doing some things other than polymer clay, and one of the things I wanted to do was to make a little Christmas display type thing using an old-fashioned gingerbread recipe. And on the recipe, it's cut out in the shape of a gingerbread man. So I thought, I've looked and looked and looked for gingerbread men ornaments and just cannot find one. So I got to thinking, well, duh, if you can't find one, make one. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll show you my steps, but I'm going to turn the camera off for a minute while I readjust my camera angle. Okay, so let me show you a little bit more about what I was saying a little while ago. This is the recipe that I've got, and you can see the little cutout, and it was cut out by the person that originated this for a gingerbread man. Can you believe, with all of the cutters that I have, I do not have a gingerbread man cutter? So I decided I would find one that I liked on the internet that's just free clip art, and did it in several different sizes, only to find out that the smallest size is the size that fits. So I cut it out and traced it onto some chipboard, and then I can see that it's going to fit right there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to trace around with a craft knife. One good thing about polymer clay is you can make just about anything you want. Now this is just plain raw sienna, Primo raw sienna. I was going to mix up some browns, and then I saw this and I thought, well, that's kind of the color that I want anyway. So let me just press this down onto the clay, and I'm going to get a craft knife. And I'm just going to cut it out. It doesn't have to be perfect because it is clay, and you can fix any little problems or whatever with your fingers after you get it cut out. So I'm just going to cut out my little clay ornament. And you can do this with anything. You can use a snowman, you could use an angel. But if you don't have a cutter, find a picture that you like, print it out on your computer, and then cut it out yourself. Don't have to have cutters. There are other ways to cut clay than with cutters. Now if I had a cutter, I would probably cut it with a piece of plastic wrap over it so it would have beveled edges. But since I don't have that, I'm going to just cut it out. Where did I start? Right up there. Shouldn't cut towards yourself, even though I'm doing it. And just pull away the extra clay. And then take off your little template. And you have a template. Now this is a double thickness. I didn't tell you that. I rolled it out on the thickest setting of my pasta machine and did a double thickness. That must have been cut off. And I say that it's not perfect, but I think what I'm going to do is use the back side. Let me get a piece of patty paper. And I'm going to take and just press down all the way around the edges. Kind of round it off a little bit. You can reshape, excuse me. I'm here by myself most of the day, and unless my dog misbehaves, I don't have anybody to talk to. So then when I do start to talk, I have a tendency to get all choked up. I'm just going to press these, edges down. Maybe you can see how it's rounded. Let me come in a little bit. Just have to remember I've pushed it. Let me adjust my camera. So I can bring it towards me so I can work and not be out of frame. But I'm just going to press around the edges. And that's all I'm working on right now is just the edges. I'm not worried about the top. Maybe reshape it a little bit. It looks like I took a chunk out of that. But I have fingernail prints and everything else in here. I've just about finished going around and getting the edges. Now I'm going to take my blade, and I'm going to use a stiff blade. And I'm just going to go up in these creases and just kind of shape it a little bit. Allie. Sorry, my dog thinks I'm talking to her, so she's in my craft room trying to talk to me, I guess. She's just investigating, and there's a lot to investigate around here. Alright, so now you look at it and decide. You can see my nail marks there. If it's sort of the shape you want, this one is maybe a little, this arm's a little bit fatter. Then I'm going to get another piece of patty paper and put it face down. And I'm just going to burnish it with my finger. Or if you have a burnishing tool, I have this tool, which is actually a odor reducing tool. It's by Norpro. You can get it on Amazon. But it also makes a great burnisher. Depends on how rough you want the top. Now if you think about a gingerbread cookie, the top really isn't that flat. It's sort of got a little bit of roughness to it. I decided I was just going to go over it with my finger and get these specific marks off. Namely my fingernail marks. So I'm not concerned that the top has to be perfect. But maybe I will at least roll over it with my roller just to make sure that there, that looks a little better. And again, you might want to take a tool of some kind. This is a knitting needle that I use. And just kind of refine some of these little areas like this. Just to make sure you've got the shape you want. Okay, now if you look at my little template here, this one has all kinds of things on it, which is usually made with icing. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to assume that not everybody has an extruder. So I'm just going to cut off little white skinny pieces and roll them. Into skinny little pieces. Here's where I need to go back out, sorry. Skinny little pieces. And I think I'm going to give him some pants. And I'm cutting this like it would be white icing. I'm going to give him a cuff like the picture shows. It shows two, but I'm going all the way across. Because if I were icing this, I wouldn't put just two little dabs. I would go all the way across. So that's what I'm going to do. And I have to roll some more. I'll take the piece that I already had and I'll add some to it. And I'll give him a pants leg over here. And I am bending it down so it touches the paper. And I'll do the same thing here. That's a little bit fat right there, so let me just... Probably should have used white for his shirt and blue for his pants, shouldn't I? Why don't I do that? Except I don't have any blue condition. Let me find some blue. I've got my shoebox full of scrap right here. And let me see. That's a light blue, but that'll work. Now I'm going to pull this white off and use it for his white shirt. I usually create as we go along, which is why I don't really plan a lot of my designs. Some people have said they don't like that, and I apologize. But that's just the way I do things. I just find that place again where I had the white icing. There, couldn't get that little piece of brown off of there. So since this blue has been conditioned before, I think just rolling it will take care of it. As far as making it softer. If it doesn't, I will pause the camera and condition this a little bit. If this had not been conditioned before, if it came right out of the package, then yes, I would have conditioned it in the pasta machine. I hope everybody's doing okay with the COVID virus out there. I pretty much stay at home most of the time. I didn't take the white off the other side, but I think what I'm going to do is give him blue jeans. Sorry if my hair got in the way. And those ends are a little bit attached better than the other side was. Just trying to get the white off of it. So let's see what we can do with blue. And I'm going to take the back side. That might be too thin. I'll take my knitting needle and bend that down and just press. And then cut off this excess with my craft knife. And press the blue same thing, just pressed it in with my knitting needle. And let me do the other side. And then I'll give him a waistband. Just push it in with the knitting needle and just till it breaks off. And then you can just cut away the excess. And one more. And we'll have his pants legs done. And I'm doing this way because this clay isn't as warm as the clay I've been using, and so it just is easier to break it off with the knitting needle than to try to do anything else. I'm going to take this, what's left over, although I don't think that's going to be enough. Let me cut another piece, maybe a little bit wider piece. I'm going to cut 2 little pieces and twist it. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it in my hands, and I'm just going to pray a little bit while it heats up a little bit, and help it soften up. And you could use an extruder for all of these things that I'm doing. But I'm assuming that most people don't have an extruder. So what I'm going to do, instead of, if you have a pastry, I don't even know what they call them, the little pastry bag where you do your pastries. You would be able to squeeze out a flat piece that we could use for his top of his pants. I don't have one of those. I've never been a cake decorator. Maybe some of you do. But anyway, so what I think I will do is I will, let's see if I have any silver or something that I can use. I love having all this scrap, but I don't use it as much as I should. Don't see any silver in here, although I'm sure there's some in here somewhere. And I don't want to open a silver, so I'm going to think about the belt buckle right now. I'm going to take my needle tool, and I'm just going to pretend like there's a belt buckle here. Just press those two. So it looks like he has a belt. And actually, I think I'm going to use those for his face. I'm going to take this red. And here it is. I'm going to do the same thing like I did with the blue and the white, and that's to cut little thin pieces to use. And I think I'll give him a red shirt, but to use for his shirt. Not that I'm going to fill it out. Okay, and I'm just going to put a sleeve here. Which I should have used this to place it, and I didn't. There we go. Give him a red sleeve here. And then a red sleeve over here. So it kind of gives you the impression that he has a red shirt on. And I may even, let me trim that off. I may even give him a little neckline of his shirt so that you can tell it's a shirt. And I'll come down and get my I might just make it a loop. I was going to make a V, but I think I'll just make it a loop. And get it where you want it before you press it down. There we go. So now he's got a red shirt. So let's give him some yellow buttons. Just take some yellow and roll a little ball. Actually, that might be a little bit too big. So I'll cut those in half. kind of place this there for a button on his shirt. I'm going to just leave them round, because if it was candy, it would be round. So there's buttons on his shirt. Don't think I'll put anything on his pants, but let's do his face. I think I will do, I think I will use my cutters, my little round Kemper cutters. These are the tiny ones, just so that they'll be symmetrical. And I'm going to place an eye there, and an eye there, and press those in. And I've got this little piece that looks just about the right size. Yeah, I think that's about the right size. Just do a little crescent. There we go. And if you want to, actually we can just use a little piece of blue. And cut that, just make a little ball, then cut it in half. And let's give him blue eyes. And that's really all you have to do. I'm just going to flatten out some of this, and to make sure it's all attached well. Got a little piece of white right there, which isn't unusual for me. But that's going to be my gingerbread man. And I'm going to mount him after he's baked. You peel him off the paper. He's going to sit right there. Of course, he'll be baked. And then this is going to be mounted on a red cutting board, which I don't have red right now. I had a red one and I didn't have any gingerbread men, so I painted it gray, and then lo and behold, I came up with this. So I thought, well, but that's my little gingerbread man. And you can decorate any way you want. If you wanted to use different colors, if you wanted to use different shapes, if you wanted to add some, take away some, maybe you just want a little gingerbread man that has nothing but eyes and some buttons. You can do all kinds of things with clay. But there's my little gingerbread man. So I hope you like that. And I will be back soon with another tutorial. Thanks. Bye-bye.